Hey everyone, tonight we're venturing somewhere far from your ideal vacation spot. Picture yourself standing at the edge of an endless frozen wasteland, surrounded by howling winds, smoke-filled air, and the distant thunder of artillery fire. This isn't gentle snowfall. The icy shards fly sideways through the air like shattered glass. Your uniform? Paper thin against the elements. Your breath? Already forming tiny icicles on your collar. And your orders? Simple. March east. Straight into the nightmare they call Stalingrad. Let's be honest, you probably won't make it out alive. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely appreciate what I'm creating here. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I'm always fascinated by how far this quiet corner of history reaches. Now, dim your lights, maybe turn on a fan for that constant background hum, and let's begin tonight's journey together. You're a German infantryman in the 6th Army. Late September 1942. You've been fighting across the Russian steppe for months, watching summer's warmth fade into biting winds that turn your skin to parchment. Command promised warm barracks and easy victory, claiming the Soviets were finished. Instead, you're greeted by frost-covered corpses and the ominous metallic growl of Soviet tank engines in the distance. The city ahead doesn't look like much, just gray smudges and skeletal concrete structures. But it's not the skyline that chills you, it's the wind. It howls like a living thing, sneaking between your scarf and collar, whispering things you'd rather not hear. You pull your coat tighter, but it's useless. The fabric's too thin, designed for autumn parades, not Russian winters. You march toward the Volga River with your unit, each step crunching frozen mud under worn-out boots. They're already stiff from yesterday's frost, the lining soggy with half-melted ice from last night. Your toes? You haven't felt them since dawn. Command insists Stalingrad will fall within a week, just a mopping-up operation. That's the phrase they keep repeating like it's supposed to comfort you. But the only thing you're mopping up are the remains of gutted buildings and whatever's left in your stomach after another tin of liver sausage that expired back in 1939. Something feels off about the city. No birds, not even crows. Just pillars of smoke rising like ghosts. You know the Soviets are waiting in there. You've heard the stories. Factories turned into fortresses, basement explosives, sewer tunnels crawling with partisans. You glance at the soldier beside you. His scarf is frozen stiff, and he hasn't blinked in 10 minutes. Maybe he's dreaming of Berlin, or maybe he's already checked out mentally. The human mind finds strange ways to cope when staring straight into hell. The horses pulling supply carts are starting to fail, limping, overburdened, their breath visible in thick clouds. One collapses into the snow, legs twitching, eyes glassy. Nobody stops. You just step around it. That's how things work now. Keep moving or freeze. You pass another unit digging shallow trenches in half-frozen dirt. Some have rags wrapped around their heads. Others use Russian newspaper pages to line their boots. One guy stuffs straw down his coat. It looks ridiculous, but nobody laughs. Dignity froze to death 3 towns back. And the smell, God, the smell. Even in this cold, it finds your nose. Not just decay, something more metallic. Oily, like burnt meat mixed with axle grease. You try not to think about it. Night falls fast here. One moment it's twilight, the next complete darkness. You light a cigarette with trembling fingers, the glow reflecting in someone's eyes nearby. Nobody talks. What's left to say? Too cold for jokes, too soon for prayers. You finally reach a forward position where someone dryly says, "Welcome to the front." It's just a shell crater with a canvas tarp over broken beams. The wind still gets in. You take your spot on the frozen ground, hugging your rifle like a teddy bear. The only thing that makes you feel in control. Rumors swirl about a unit 2 kilometers east walking straight into a Soviet ambush. No gunfire, just mines and Molotovs from the rubble. No survivors. You chew rock-hard black bread that cracks a molar. Spit out the fragment. Not worth complaining about. Later during watch, you face the dark city. Somewhere in those ruins, a sniper might be watching you too. You hope he's cold. You hope he misses. Stupid thoughts, but you whisper to the sky for mercy. Just a few more days. Just enough to survive this mess. A distant boom rolls across the horizon. Artillery fire. One comrade whispers it's Soviet, another says German. Doesn't matter. You're too exhausted to care who's shooting what. The snow returns. Not the pretty kind, but a mix of ash and ice that cakes on your sleeves, eyebrows, and rifle sight. You blink it away, keeping your eyes on the ruins, waiting for movement. In that moment, fingers numb, teeth chattering, kerosene stench in your nostrils. The realization hits. This isn't war anymore. It's bare survival. No medals, no glory, just ice, ruins, and silence. And you're only at the city's edge. Tomorrow, you go in. You wake to boots crunching frozen earth and an officer's rifle jabbing your ribs. No gentle mornings in Stalingrad. No coffee, no sunrise over fields. Just smoke, orders, and that relentless bitter wind. Your back aches from sleeping on rubble, legs tingling with that weird numbness that means circulation never fully returned. On your feet, someone growls. We're moving in. You blink into the pale gray light, squinting at the city ruins ahead. It doesn't look like a city anymore. More like something bombed, chewed up, and spat out. Building skeletons stand like jagged teeth, some still glowing faintly from last night's shelling. Distant gunfire cracks, short bursts ending in that familiar, heavy silence. Your unit joins a column winding toward Stalingrad's outskirts. The ground's littered with spent cartridges, broken helmets, and occasional dark lumps you avoid examining too closely. The closer you get, the more the city feels like a steel trap, a maze with no map, no exit, and no guarantee anyone will remember your name. You pass a half-destroyed apartment block where soldiers huddle inside. One waves you over, but you shake your head. Orders are orders. You notice the wall behind him is charred black, with red paint spelling, "Welcome to Hell." Charming. Crossing a shattered railway yard, your foot catches on something in the snow, a severed hand, frozen mid-reach. You say nothing, just keep walking. Nobody speaks much anymore. Soon you realize this isn't a front line, it's a funnel. Streets narrow, buildings loom. Snipers hide in every window, chimney, collapsed roof. They don't fire often, just enough to keep you nervous. One shot every 10 minutes. Perfectly timed to make you flinch at every movement. Historians debate whether the Soviets deliberately lured Germans into this kill zone, or if the Red Army turned desperation into brutal art. Either way, it works. You've been moving less than 2 hours and already lost 3 men. One to a mine, one to a sniper, one who simply vanished down a hole in an abandoned school floor. No time to investigate. By midday, you're crawling through a factory yard. The machine tractor plant, someone says, used to build farm equipment. Now, tanks. The Soviets still operated under siege. You duck behind a rusted engine block as bullets smack nearby concrete. A comrade screams, clutching his shoulder. You drag him to cover, pressing a bandage into the wound. It's not deep, but he's shaking, not from pain, from fear. You know the feeling. Overhead, a German Junkers 87 dive bomber screams past, trailing smoke. Seconds later, it crashes into a warehouse 2 blocks away with a sound like the world being torn in half. You feel the ground tremble beneath you as the bomber's impact echoes through the frozen wasteland. Pieces of the warehouse roof rain down like deadly confetti. You're not sure whether to laugh or cry at the absurdity. Your own air support just became another hazard in this godforsaken place. By afternoon, you're inside the city proper, and it's worse than your darkest imaginings. Every street is reduced to rubble, every room a potential death trap. Orders come to clear a bombed-out department store floor by floor. The process takes hours. The Soviets have tunneled between walls, hidden behind curtains, laid traps under floorboards. You discover a sniper nest concealed behind a stack of women's shoes. One of your squad nearly dies opening a wardrobe rigged with a grenade tripwire. Who even thinks of such things? Communication with command is non-existent. Radios barely function. Maps might as well be children's drawings. Streets change shape daily as new shell craters appear and rubble piles shift. The city seems to be folding in on itself. You don't advance so much as ooze forward, like syrup spreading across broken glass. The most disorienting part? You can't even identify the front lines anymore. Sometimes Soviets are behind you, sometimes beneath you. Once, you find an old woman sitting calmly in a kitchen, utterly unfazed by the firefight in the hallway. She's eating a potato and sipping from a chipped teacup, not even glancing up as bullets ricochet outside. Who is she, you ask? Don't ask, the sergeant mutters. Keep moving. You're starting to believe the city itself is alive. It breathes smoke. Its heart beats with explosions. Its eyes are the 1,000 broken windows watching your every move. And it doesn't want you here. Later, you take shelter in a basement corner with 6 others, eating greasy meat paste from a tin using a toothbrush handle as a spoon. There's a dead cat in the corner that nobody mentions. You wonder how long until it stops being dead cat and starts being possible ration. Night brings fresh chaos. You're ordered to hold position on the 2nd floor of a collapsed house. No roof, half a wall remaining. You crouch behind a brick pile, rifle ready, watching shadows. A Soviet patrol passes just meters below. You hold your breath. One soldier stops, lights a cigarette, and stares at the sky. You consider shooting him, but your trigger finger won't move. He walks away. Gradually, you notice something strange. You're not angry anymore, just profoundly tired. A bone-deep exhaustion that makes your soul feel ancient. You're 19, but your joints ache like an old man's. You wonder what you'll be like if you live to 20. You close your eyes for just a second. When they open, it's morning. Frost coats your eyebrows. A rat sits on your boot, staring at you with beady eyes. It doesn't run. Welcome to day 2 in Stalingrad. The morning is spent chasing shadows while chewing gravel. At least that's what it feels like. Every step pulls chunks of frozen mud and debris with it. The snow here is never white, always gray with ash and God knows what. The stench of burning lingers even on days without shelling. Normalcy is a forgotten concept. There are no clear front lines, no safe rear areas. Stalingrad has become a patchwork of miniature hells, connected only by brief lulls in gunfire. You're not fighting for territory anymore. You're battling for individual rooms, sometimes just for a single wall. Take this morning's mission. Clear one apartment building. Not a block, just one 5-story concrete husk. First floor seems abandoned until someone accidentally presses a piano key in the ruined living room. The note rings out, haunting, absurd. Everyone freezes. For 1 second, it's almost funny. Then gunfire erupts from the stairwell. You dive behind the piano as bullets chew the wall behind you. A squad mate screams, wounded, not dead. You drag him back by his collar while another returns fire up the steps. Your ears ring with the echoes. Historians argue whether Soviet snipers used civilian buildings as psychological warfare or simply lacked other cover. Either way, they're terrifyingly effective, aiming for joints, necks, exposed hands reaching for grenades. It feels personal, like they've been studying your movements for days. You inch upstairs, each step creaking ominously. On the 2nd floor, you spot a tripwire in a strangely intact bedroom. Could trigger a grenade, a bomb, maybe one of those booby-trap dolls like the one that killed a comrade last week. You leave the room untouched. 3rd floor brings heavier resistance. Soviets dug in behind what might have been a kitchen. There's a sink, at least. A frying pan hangs from a hook. You see it flash seconds before it deflects a bayonet thrust. This city runs on brutal improvisation. You lose another man on that floor, clean shot through the eye. No dramatic last words, just a thud as he collapses. He was 23, loved jazz, dreamed of owning a radio shop after the war. You take his ammo without thinking. Reaching the top floor, you're out of grenades, patience, and breath. But somehow you clear it, planting your unit's flag in the rubble like it means something. And it does, for about 2 hours, until Soviets counterattack through the sewers. That's right, they come from underneath, through a hole in the basement floor you never knew existed. The fighting is chaos, screams, smoke, gunfire, bayonets. By the time you get downstairs, it's over. Just bodies and broken furniture and the sound of footsteps fading into underground tunnels. You retake the ground floor. Again, the building is now just bricks loosely arranged in vertical formation. Orders are orders, so you dig in, fortifying windows with debris, arguing over who gets the last cigarette. One man offers an extra sock, another a bullet. The cigarette goes to the sock. Later, you find a dead Soviet soldier in a bathtub. No visible wounds. Arms crossed peacefully. Maybe he froze. Maybe he gave up. You try closing his eyes, but they're frozen open. You cover him with a curtain. That night, you sleep in shifts if you can call it sleep. Wind screams through shattered walls as snow drifts across the floor. Wrapped in an old curtain against a cold radiator, you listen to the city breathe. You swear you hear whispers. Maybe the wind. Maybe your mind breaking. Maybe ghosts. You've developed survival quirks now. Tapping your helmet twice before turning corners. Using a mirror shard to check windows without exposing your head. You stop talking about going home. It feels like tempting fate. Everything stays on your person. Ammo, ration crumbs, bandages, photos of faces you can barely remember. Leaving anything behind risks theft, or worse, someone needing it after you're gone. The absurdities continue. You still try brushing your teeth with snowmelt. It feels like a tiny rebellion against the filth, a way to cling to humanity. One squad mate shaves daily with a broken mirror, insisting he'll die looking decent. That night, curled in your corner, you hear distant music, a harmonica playing a folk tune. Could be German, could be Russian. In this moment, it doesn't matter. The melody drifts through the ruins like a ghost's lullaby. You close your eyes, and for one fleeting moment, you're not in Stalingrad. You're jolted awake before dawn by a sound that doesn't belong in nature. The sharp crack of a rifle shot followed by the metallic ping of a bullet ricocheting off a pipe behind your head. The Soviets are up early, or maybe they never slept. Time has become slippery here, hours bleeding together like frost melting on a hot gun barrel. You scramble upright, still tangled in the dusty curtain that served as your blanket, and grab your rifle. The metal is so cold your fingers stick to it. When you peel them away, skin tears slightly. Just another layer gone that you couldn't afford to lose. Outside, the city glows with eerie light. Not sunrise, but distant fires. Maybe an ammo dump hit by shells. Maybe a supply truck burning. Maybe just another building choosing today to die. Peering through a crack in the wall, you spot movement. Shadows slipping between broken structures. You raise your rifle, but your breath fogs the sight. Wiping it clear with a gloved thumb, you see the enemy disappear into a hole in the ground. The sewers. Again, you'd think a destroyed city wouldn't have an underground, but Stalingrad has layers, catacombs, drainage tunnels, passages rumored to stretch all the way to the Volga. The Soviets use them like magicians' tricks, vanishing one moment only to reappear 2 blocks away. A comrade calls them Earth Ghosts. The name sticks. Your patrol is sent to seal a sewer access point. The plan seems simple. Drop grenades to collapse the tunnel, then post guards. But the tunnel isn't empty. At 10 meters out, muzzle flashes erupt from below like angry fireflies lighting the hole. You dive for cover as bullets chew through brick beside your head. Someone throws a grenade that bounces off the rim and rolls back. Everyone scatters. The explosion is followed by a scream, not from your side. The grenade must have landed deeper in. The knowledge brings no comfort. You're learning that everything here is weaponized, even things never meant to be. Rubble piles hide anti-personnel mines. Staircases are wired with traps. Corpses, actual human remains, are booby-trapped with grenades waiting for someone to check their dog tags. Historians debate whether these tactics were coordinated Soviet strategy or desperate improvisation. The effect is identical. You stop trusting the very ground beneath your boots, moving like you're navigating a haunted house, slow and breathless. Returning to position at midday, your hands shake from adrenaline and cold. Your boots are soaked again, and you're losing sensation in your left foot. You don't want to think about what that means. Last week you saw a man lose 3 toes to frostbite, the blackened digits looking like charred sausages. You try warming your foot by a makeshift stove cobbled from an old shell casing. The feeble flame barely burns, fed by scraps of broken furniture. Someone jokes you're literally burning the city for warmth. Nobody laughs. Lunch is a tin labeled in smudged Gothic script. Could be meat, could be glue. You chew slowly, not savoring, but because your frozen jaw can't move faster. It tastes like cardboard soaked in rust. A new transfer joins your squad today, fresh-faced with clean cheeks and eyes too wide. He still says things like, "When this is over." He'll learn, or he won't. When he asks where the latrine is, everyone just stares before someone points to a collapsed balcony. Anywhere over there. Proper toilets became a distant memory weeks ago. Now you squat wherever snow looks least bloodstained, usually behind whatever wall offers minimal privacy. You trade your last bullet for toilet paper. Mid-afternoon finds you reinforcing a machine gun team in a bombed-out bakery. The scorched flour smell lingers, and there's even a petrified loaf still in the oven, rock-hard and ash-coated. You almost bite it anyway. The machine gun nest is down to half ammo, the weapon jamming every 10th round. The crew has named it Greta when it works, Whore when it doesn't. Today she's being particularly unfaithful. A Soviet push comes at dusk, dark figures crawling over snowbanks like insects, darting between craters. You open fire, trying to stay calm despite the recoil jolting your shoulder and gunpowder burning your nose. You lose count of rounds fired. Just keep shooting until the enemy fades back, leaving still forms in the snow. No cheers follow. No victory here, just survival. Reloading with shaking hands. You barely register the backslap and nice shooting compliment. You don't even remember pulling the trigger. The quiet that follows is spent cleaning your rifle, sipping half-frozen canteen water, and wrapping your foot in newspaper, not medical grade but dry. Leaning against a wall, you stare through a motorcycle-sized hole in the ceiling at the stars, cold, distant, indifferent. You wonder how they look from Berlin. From home, you try recalling your mother's kitchen smell. The memory won't come. That night, a Soviet propaganda truck rolls close enough to hear, scratchy music and a woman's voice in broken German urging surrender. She says you're surrounded, that no help is coming, that the Führer has forgotten you. She's not wrong. You roll over, hands pressed to ears, trying to sleep. You dream of warm bread, thick coats, trains heading west. But when you wake, it's just frost and another Stalingrad morning exhaling its bitter breath. Mid-chew on frozen bread, a rifle crack echoes across the courtyard. Sharp, deliberate, unmistakable. You drop flat instinctively, face in slush, rifle clutch tight. Your teeth sting from biting down mid-chew. Something creaks above a window. A pipe? You don't look up. Snipers. Always snipers. They've turned hunting into sport, and you're the prey. Days might pass without seeing one, but you always feel their gaze. You've started crossing open spaces like a cartoon character, crouched, zigzagging, holding your breath like it makes you invisible. Today's victim is a cook, not even a frontline fighter, just a skinny 20-year-old who ladled soup and sang while stirring. His helmet rolls across the ice to rest against a frozen boot. Nobody rushes to help, not from indifference, but because a second shot usually follows. You retrieve his body using electrical wire. Grabbing fabric makes you too big a target, a lesson learned last week when a man taking a wounded comrade caught a bullet in the spine. Historians argue whether Soviet snipers worked alone or in coordinated cells. It doesn't matter. What matters is that someone out there with steady hands and warm gloves is calmly lining up shots. Your squad has started naming them. The Ghost of Sector 7, Old Man Smoke, the Angel of Death. Dark humor, but it helps. Gives the fear a face. Makes it feel less like a curse and more like a duel. Your pocket mirror trick has saved you twice now. Once catching a scope glint before stepping into the open. The bullet still came, but it hit wall instead of lung. You've learned to move like vermin. Fast, low. Only when wind howls loud enough to mask footsteps. Snowfall becomes a blessing, muffling noise and blurring outlines. But living under crosshairs takes its toll. You see phantom glints in every puddle, flinch at imagined camera flashes in dreams. Envision a red dot on your chest whenever you stand. You stop stretching, waving, barely blinking outside. In the open, you cease being human, just a shape, a shadow, a problem to solve. A captured Soviet prisoner, young, wounded, barely speaking German, stares with ancient eyes before saying, "Our snipers know your names." You don't know if it's true, but next day you stay indoors. Buildings aren't safe either, but feel safer. You hide behind rubble piles, crawl under collapsed beams, shuffle between half-rooms that were once homes. Finding a child's doll missing an eye with Moody scrawled on its chest, you toss it aside. Too risky, could be rigged. Everything becomes risk assessment now. Each move costs blood, so you weigh them carefully. New orders come at week's end. Secure a bombed-out administrative building 2 blocks ahead. You laugh. Administrative building sounds so civilized compared to the concrete carcass you find, reeking of wet rats and old fire. Clearing it room by room reveals an elevator shaft turned tomb, a blown-out stairwell, and a 3rd floor accessible only by crawling a swaying beam 5 meters above a pit of jagged metal, and yes, that's a boot. Just the boot. Of course you draw the short straw. Inching across the beam belly down, arms hugging splintered wood, you try not to look down. The sniper nest on the 3rd floor is cleverly placed in an office with sandbag walls and perfect street visibility. The rifle remains on its bipod, but no shooter, until you hear faint breathing behind a file cabinet. A voice, female, trembling, neat Strelier. Don't shoot. A Soviet sniper? Partisan. She steps out slowly, maybe 20, wrapped in a dirty scarf, looking more like a scared girl than a soldier. But you've seen teenage boys throw grenades and old women burn tanks. When she sees your rifle, she closes her eyes. Waits. You lower your weapon. Step back. She disappears down the stairwell before you reconsider. Back downstairs, when asked if the room was clear, you nod. Some things don't belong in reports. That night, wind claims another wall of your shelter. 2 hours of hammering scrap metal over the gap barely keeps snow out. The nails bend. The city groans like it's tired of you both. Cleaning your rifle by candlelight, you notice a comrade humming. A lullaby maybe, or some radio tune from home. You don't ask. Just listen. As the candle flickers out and your hands finally stop shaking, you realize something. You haven't seen stars in a week. Too much smoke. Too much war. Too much Stalingrad. You wake with fingers locked around your rifle stock, so tight you have to pry them loose one by one. It's still dark, or maybe morning already. The sky over Stalingrad permanently gray, as if it's forgotten how to be anything else. Your joints creak, lips split, breath visible in ragged puffs like the city itself is trying to suffocate you without lifting a finger. No coffee, no breakfast, no warm water, just orders. Today you're moving to a railway depot, or what's left of one. You and 4 others are sent to reinforce a squad that's held the station's main hall for 2 straight days. That's an eternity in Stalingrad time. Most positions change hands 3 times before lunch. The journey there is all crouched movements and hunched shoulders, slinking through alleys, ducking under wreckage, pausing to double-check every shadow. No talking, just hand signals, a raised fist, finger flicks, the silent language of men who've learned noise gets you killed. The depot materializes like something from a fever dream. Twisted iron ribs jutting from snowdrifts where the roof used to be, boxcars shattered into charcoal skeletons, railway tracks curled like overcooked noodles. Machine gun fire punctuates the air, not constant, just rhythmic. Like the city itself is stuttering. The squad you're relieving consists of 3 men now. One's missing a boot. One's missing 2 fingers. One just stares at the ceiling. When you ask what happened, none answer. You don't press. You take position behind a rusted-out train car littered with shredded paper, glass shards, splinters, and, yes, bones. Probably from the horses that pulled these carts. Probably. Sitting with your back against cold steel, knees drawn up, you try coaxing feeling back into your toes. That dead-numb sensation has returned. The cold here isn't dramatic. It's patient. It seeps into your marrow quietly, then never leaves. Someone hands you a cup of something pretending to be soup. Warm water with meat flecks, 3 grains of rice, and, bonus, a cigarette, but at the bottom. You drink it anyway. Still say thanks. By midday, the cold intensifies impossibly further. The kind that makes your eyes water, then freezes the tears on your lashes. Your scarf has frozen into a stiff mask. The man beside you has frost eyebrows. You both laugh until he coughs blood into a rag and turns away. The depot gets shelled after lunch. No warning. One moment you're watching snowflakes drift through a ceiling crack. The next, the world screams apart. You hit the deck as debris rains down. Crawling under a rail car, you press your helmet over your head and pray you're not next. The bombardment lasts 5 minutes or 5 hours. Time has lost meaning. When it stops, the depot has fewer walls and more smoke. One man from the other squad is just gone. His helmet sits 3 meters away, still warm. You find his arm. That's it. No tears. Not from bravery. Your eyes have forgotten how. Later, the sergeant distributes rations, half a tin of mystery meat, an oil-scented bread crust, and something called ersatz coffee, made from roasted acorns that tastes like liquid regret. Still, it's warm. You savor each sip like wine. Here's the kicker. No more mail. The last truck carrying letters got hit. Now even words from home are gone. You try recalling your mother's last note. Something about keeping socks dry? The irony almost makes you laugh. Almost. Night watch again. Sitting in the depot's shattered entryway, rifle across your knees, you stare into the abyss beyond. Your fingers twitch involuntarily. The sounds, scraping, whispering, occasional thuds, could be rats, Soviets, or your mind unraveling. Historians debate whether cold or combat claimed more lives at Stalingrad. You've seen men freeze in their sleep, skin blacken and peel like bark, a guy sever his own frostbitten toe with a bayonet. You keep flexing your toes inside your boots. Just in case. The depot holds through the night. Barely. At dawn, a Soviet patrol tests your position with gunfire. You return fire automatically. No fear left, just exhaustion. Shoot. Reload. Shoot. Duck. Cough. Repeat. They retreat. You lose one man, shot through the throat. He dies gurgling with eyes open. You close them with trembling fingers. His name was Ulrich. Didn't know him well. He once talked about his grandmother's peach tree. You wonder if he'll get buried. Probably not. New boots arrive next day. New meaning someone else's. Still warm inside. Still damp. You try not to think about the previous owner's fate. Moving to a less windy corner, you pull out a pencil stub and write on a ration label. Not a letter, just words. A name. Maybe someone will find it. Maybe not. You tuck it into your coat. Miracles are fairy tales now, but stories still matter. If someone finds this one, maybe it'll mean you existed. That you mattered. Even here. Even in this cold. Even in Stalingrad. Scratching wakes you. Not gunfire, not shells. Just persistent little claws inside the depot walls. Rats. Big ones. Not cute cartoon vermin, but starvation-bred monsters bold enough to drag boots across floors. You've seen them crawl into open mouths. One guy swears they've started nibbling on the living. You don't ask for details. Filth is your normal now. Dirt cakes your sleeves unbrushed. You only wipe your face if blood blocks vision. Fingernails are black. Your socks haven't changed in 9 days. When you dare remove boots, your feet steam like rotten potatoes. Not from heat. From decay. 5 men share your shelter. A former ticket office turned into a mud-straw ice graveyard. The walls are Swiss cheese from shrapnel. You plug holes with rags, newspapers, uniform scraps, anything to slow the wind. Your prized possession? A box containing 2 real wax candles. Not the grease-rolled kind that sputter out fast. You use one for light. Save the other. For what? A final letter? A birthday you won't see? Breakfast is lard smeared on black bread. It gums to your teeth like tar, but provides calories. Taste stopped mattering weeks ago. Now it's just fuel. Outside, snow piles against buildings like the city's being buried alive. The silence is deafening. Soviets haven't attacked in 2 days. That doesn't mean they're gone. It means they're planning something. You volunteer for water duty, not from bravery, but because staying still is worse. Collecting canisters, you trek to a crater filled with semi-frozen runoff. You've been warned not to drink from it directly. Everyone does. Passing what was once a square, you spot a headless statue, just stone feet protruding from snow. A crow perches on the shoulder, watching you. It doesn't flee. Distant gunfire echoes. Not your problem today. At the crater, you encounter two soldiers from another unit. One missing an ear, the other's face burned red from frostbite. No words exchanged, just nods, filled canisters, and parted ways. On return, something flaps in a window. A Soviet propaganda flyer in German. Your sacrifice is pointless. Lay down your weapons. Go home before you're buried here. There's an image of a German mother holding a baby. You stare a long moment. Then take it. Fold it. Tuck it into your coat. Not because you believe it, but because you missed the idea of that woman. Back at the depot, the sergeant announces a medic's visit. A woman sent to check frostbite cases. You laugh. The first real one in weeks. A medic? Now, what's next? Hot towels and strudel. But she comes. Young, pale, shivering under 3 uniform layers. She examines hands, feet, ears. Tells 2 men they'll lose fingers if they don't stay warm. Tells another it's too late. Dispenses aspirin like gold. Then she's gone. A ghost in a wool cap. That night, you can't sleep. That visit unsettled you. A reminder of a world where health, kindness, and soft voices still exist. You'd almost forgotten. Someone cries softly nearby, muffled by a sleeve. No one acknowledges it. No one moves. Later, an explosion shakes the building. Dust rains from rafters. You press your face into your coat and try dreaming of summer, green fields, warm bread smells. But your brain only supplies bricks, blood, snow. You wake cold. Obviously. New orders. Fall back 1 block to a building Soviets briefly took yesterday. Moving out, your squad navigates courtyards and alleys. One guy slips on ice, lands hard, limps the rest of the day. The building is demolished, stairwell gone, ceiling collapsed. But it's tactically important, so you clear it room by room. In one, you find meal remnants, canned fish, bread crusts, a broken teacup. Soviets were here recently. And in the corner, a journal, handwritten Russian poetry. You can't read it, but recognize rhythm, emotion. A comrade takes it, shrugs, pockets it like extra warmth. Building cleared, you set up, booby-trapping doors, piling bricks against windows. That evening, someone reads from the journal. He can't translate, but recites anyway, voice low, steady. The cadence alone is enough. For a few minutes, the city doesn't feel like it's trying to kill you. It feels tired, like it wants to stop too. Like maybe it's waiting for someone to blink first. You close your eyes. You do not blink. Not yet. The first thing you notice upon waking is the silence. Not peace, just absence. No gunfire, no shouting, no crumbling concrete. Just a thick, smothering stillness that makes your skin prickle. You sit up slowly, half expecting to see the world frozen solid. In a way it is. Outside, the snow lies undisturbed, knee-deep. The wind has died. Even the crows have gone mute. It should feel like a blessing. Instead, it feels like a warning. The others sense it too. They move slower, eyes darting, hands clenched wide around their weapons. Nobody says it aloud, but the thought hangs in the frozen air between you all. Something's coming. You pull on your coat. It crackles with ice, and lace your boots as best you can. The left one's coming apart at the heel. You wrap it with wire and pray it holds. There's no more spare gear. No resupply. If something breaks now, it stays broken. Breakfast is a chunk of frozen bread that tastes like sawdust, with a frost layer that cuts your tongue. You chew anyway. Wasting food stopped being an option weeks ago. A scout returns with news. Soviets are massing to the south. He saw movement, maybe tanks, hard to tell in the whiteout. But the pipes are echoing noises again, metal scraping, boots, distant shouts. You're told to hold position. Reinforcements might come, or not. Your sergeant doesn't pretend to know anymore. He just shrugs and says, dig in. So you dig. With helmets. With bare hands. With broken wood and frozen shovels. You clear snow from doorways. Pile bricks into makeshift barricades. Reinforce walls with sandbags that burst if you breathe on them wrong. There's no strategy, just instinct. You make the shelter stronger, thicker, deeper, like you're trying to burrow into the earth and disappear. By midday, the sun tries peeking through, a sickly yellow smear behind clouds. You haven't seen sunlight in over a week. and even now it looks exhausted. Like it knows what's coming too. You check your rifle for the 5th time. The bolt's getting sluggish again. You rub snow on it. Oddly, it helps. Someone taught you that trick 2 weeks ago. You've learned to trust superstition more than orders. Then, the quiet ends. It starts with a whistle, not human. Artillery. High-pitched, rising. Then impact. The building shudders like a living thing. Dust and ice rain from the ceiling. You hit the floor, hands over your head, waiting for the next. It comes, and comes, and comes. The world dissolves into thunder and silence, a drumbeat played by giants. Outside, the courtyard erupts in geysers of smoke and snow. Someone yells, or screams, or both. You crawl to the window and peek out. They're coming. Soviet infantry. Dozens, maybe hundreds. They move like waves, relentless, armored in desperation. Behind them, something worse, a T-34 tank painted white like a winter ghost. You don't think. You fire. Your rifle kicks. Others join in. The air fills with gunpowder smoke, sharp and dry. Your ears ring. Eyes water. Reload. Fire again. The tank's machine gun opens up, that terrifying typewriter from hell sound. Bricks explode around you. You duck as shrapnel slices your arm. Only notice the blood when you feel warmth trickling into your glove. Someone yells for grenades. Someone else screams they're out. The Soviets reach the wall. Close quarters now, bayonets, rifle butts, fists. Chaos. You swing your rifle like a club, knock one attacker down. Another lunges with a knife. You stumble back, trip, land hard. He's on top of you. Instinct takes over. You grab broken glass, jam it into his neck. He falls. You don't watch him die, just scramble up looking for the next threat. The fight lasts minutes or hours. Time means nothing anymore. You fight until your arms go numb, until your rifle's empty, until you're painted in blood. Some yours, most not. Then, suddenly, it's over. They retreat. You stand among the wreckage, chest heaving, legs trembling. Your ears still ring, but the silence returns. Not peace, just the echo of what's left. Bodies everywhere. Yours. Theirs. Some moaning. Some still. Smoke coils from a shattered oil drum. The snow turns pink, then red. You check your squad. 4 down. 2 moving. 1 missing. You call his name. No answer. Find him in the hallway, slumped against a wall, hole below his ribs. You press a rag to it, but he grabs your wrist and shakes his head. Let it be, he whispers. You sit with him until the breathing stops, then close his eyes. Later, you bandage your arm. The cut's messy but shallow. You wrap it with a strip torn from your undershirt. It burns like fire, but that's good. Pain means you're alive. The building's wrecked, walls gone, roof cracked. You're told to hold it anyway, because command says, we still need eyes on the street. You don't argue. That night, no fire, too risky. Just candles, carefully shielded. You sit against a dead radiator, sipping melted snow, chewing dried potato skin like it's steak. Someone starts humming. You join in. Not because you want to, because you need to. Historians debate whether German soldiers at Stalingrad understood how doomed they were, or if they truly believed relief would come. You know the truth. You stopped believing in rescue days ago. You don't think about escape anymore. Just survival. One more night. One more hour. One more breath. You lie down with your rifle across your chest, boots still on, eyes open. When sleep finally comes, it's shallow, half dream, half memory. You're back home, in a field. It's summer, and there's no snow. You wake up coughing, a dry, hacking cough that starts in your throat and rattles through your chest like a box of matches. It burns, and won't stop. You sit up doubled over, hacking into your sleeve. There's blood this time, just a thread of it. You wipe it away without comment. Nobody asks if you're okay. Everyone coughs now. One man in your unit wheezes like broken bellows. Another hasn't spoken in 2 days, just lies curled in a corner, eyes wide, breathing shallow. Anywhere else, he'd be hospitalized. But this is Stalingrad. Here, you either stand or you stop. Stepping outside, you pull your scarf over your face. The cold slaps you instantly. Sharp, wet, unforgiving. Your eyelashes freeze together. Nostrils sting. It's January now. Maybe the first week. Calendars don't exist here, just frostbite tallies and artillery barges. The walk to the water crater feels longer today. Your feet drag through heavier snow, like the city itself is pressing down on you. Thoughts trail behind like loose threads. By the time you return, your hands are numb and your right boot leaks again. The water's already freezing in the canister. Someone brings news. Not good, not bad, just news. Soviets pushed further west. Some say they've surrounded the airfields. Others say Paulus has stopped giving real orders. Someone jokes that Berlin probably thinks you've already won. Nobody laughs. You're gathered for a briefing. Your officer looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. Patchy beard, uniform hanging off his frame. He tells you what you already know. We're cut off. No supplies. No retreat. No help. Operation Uranus, the Soviet counteroffensive that snapped shut around the 6th Army like a bear trap. You didn't know the name then. Just the feeling. One day pushing toward the river, the next completely encircled. Historians debate whether Hitler truly believed you could hold Stalingrad, or if it was all pride and theater. But you're the one sitting in the cold with a rusted helmet and half a sock, so you don't care about debates. You just know you're stuck. And winter's tightening its grip. Rations shrink again. Half a biscuit, a smear of margarine, a teaspoon of meat concentrate. You chew slowly, pretending it matters. You even lick the spoon. Bartering resurges, not for luxuries, those vanished long ago, but for scraps. A glove for 2 cigarettes. Dry socks for a full soup can. Someone traded a working lighter for sardines and cried afterward. You overhear talk about a horse, not eating one, but finding one still alive in a basement, guarded like gold. Someone says it's the last in the sector. Someone else says it's already gone. A joke about rats taking it down. You believe it. The rats thrive. They scurry across your boots, steal crumbs from pockets, nest in abandoned helmets. Once you woke to one on your chest, it stared at you before leaving. You tell yourself that's normal, that this is normal, that any day now, something will change. Night guard duty on the roof. What's left of it? You climb slowly, rifle slung, scarf tight against the slicing wind that finds every gap in your layers. You lie prone behind broken bricks, scanning the horizon. Just smoke, ice, and more snow. Distant shouts, gunfire, then silence. Then something soft below. Footsteps, not your squad's. Too light, too careful. You freeze. Lean over, peek through a roof hole. See nothing. Wait. Minutes pass. Then, a flicker. A shadow at the courtyard's edge. You raise your rifle. But it's gone. You're not sure if you saw someone or just wanted to. Either way, the building still stands. For now. Descending an hour later, your fingers are stiff, eyes sore. You sit by the stove's remnants, warming hands over a candle. Someone nearby writes in a notebook, pages thin and smudged. You don't ask what. Probably a letter he'll never send. You decide to write something too. Not a message, just your name on the wall. You scratch it into plaster with a nail until your fingers ache. Not for remembrance, just proof you were here, that you existed. Later, you lie down. No blanket, just your coat. Snow creeps through cracks, settling on your boots, sleeves, hair. You shiver. Once, twice, then stop. Your body's adapting. The cold lives inside you now. And still, you whisper, tomorrow, just one more. Then close your eyes, and let Stalingrad have the night. You wake slower now, not from rest, but because your body conserves energy without asking. Limbs feel heavy, like they belong to someone buried under rubble. Sitting up dizzy, your breath freezes instantly on your scarf. Flexing your fingers meets resistance, stiff, uncooperative. You rub them against your ribs under your coat, searching for warmth that isn't there. Someone nearby mutters, cursing or praying, hard to tell. Even voices here crack under the cold. Outside, knee-high snow keeps rising. Your boots cake with it, sleeves crust over, wall gaps disappear under drifts. You'd think snow would muffle sound, but it amplifies the wrong things. Every footstep, cough, distant scream. Your squad's at half strength now. 2 lost in the last push. 1 vanished on patrol, probably just kept walking. It happens. Mine snap. Men rise and don't stop. You don't ask where they went. Just hope they found better than this. The food worsens. Yesterday's ration was a gray rubbery cube labeled meat substitute. You didn't ask. Didn't care. Chewed until it surrendered, then swallowed whole. Your stomach complained but stayed quiet. Today, the cook's gone. Not dead, just vanished. Left a note with just his name. You drink melted snow from your helmet. Tastes like rust and brick dust. Strain the big bits with your scarf. Midday brings rumors. Luftwaffe is still trying to airdrop supplies. Crates landed outside the perimeter. Some units got coffee and chocolate last week. You don't believe it. Or rather, you can't afford to. Hope is dangerous here. Makes you careless. You've learned to expect nothing. If something good happens, it's a miracle. If not, at least you're not surprised. Patrol duty today, the worst kind, guarding an open street. You crouch behind a toppled pillar that once held a government building. The statue above is gone, just 2 stone feet in the ice. You stare at them, oddly calming. Whoever it was, they're forgotten now. Just ankles sticking out of history. Your rifle acts up again, cleared with cloth and stick, bolt still sticky. You pee on it. Again. The trick never gets less disgusting. But it works. An officer passes, not yours. Tall, thin, too clean. He looks through you, mutters about holding firm and final victory, then leaves. You want to laugh, but lack the energy. Later, a miracle, a dog. A real one. Skinny, mangy, but alive. It wanders into the courtyard, sniffing, tail twitching. Nobody shoots it. Nobody speaks. You all just watch. It sniffs around bodies, noses a coat, then trots off silently. Someone says, "Even the dog knows better than to stay." You don't reply. That night, the cold hits harder. Stove won't light. Candle won't stay lit. You huddle in the darkest corner, knees to chest, coat pulled tight. Try to sleep, but your mind drifts. To food. To family. To fire. You remember your mother leaving bread on the windowsill back home. Still warm, dusted with sugar. You try picturing it, but the image slips away like a reverse dream. Someone cries out in sleep. You don't look. Don't want to know. By morning, a man's missing fingers, frostbite. Didn't notice until waking. Blackened, one snapped off like a twig. No reaction, just quiet. You wrap his hand in cloth. He thanks you with his eyes. Another starts talking to himself. Nonsense words, repeating your name. You say nothing. Rumors swirl about Soviet leaflets offering mercy for surrender, warm food, shelter, survival. You haven't seen them, but you think about them. A lot. Historians debate whether surrender at Stalingrad was calculated decision or slow erosion of will. You know the truth. It starts with a missed meal, then a missing friend, then a missing toe. Soon you're just waiting, not for orders, but release. Any release. That afternoon, a surprise, vodka. Not much, just a few mouthfuls in a tin, passed around like sacred wine. You take a sip, it burns, warms, fades. You smile. A real one. Then pass it on. You spend the day carving a floor hole, not to escape, but for insulation. The wood beneath is dry. You break it up, burn it in a can. Smoke stings your eyes, but it's worth it. Your hands feel almost alive. And for the first time in days, you feel something close to warmth. That night, you dream of fire, real fire. People laughing. Music. Bread. Dogs that don't run away. You wake up smiling. Then remember where you are. The smile doesn't last. But for a second, it was real. And sometimes, that's enough. You don't remember falling asleep. Only waking to the sharp ache in your back and frozen fabric stuck to your cheek. Peeling your face from your coat collar. You feel skin tear, half frostbitten, half raw. Blinking, you try sitting up, but your body resists, every muscle wrapped in invisible wire. Outside, the eternal snow continues. Of course it does. The sky hangs low and colorless, a blank canvas of ice and silence. Someone's trying to restart the stove. Sparks fly, but nothing catches. You watch without offering help. Not from laziness. You simply can't make yourself move. Eventually, a feeble flame flickers in a tin can. Everyone crowds around this pathetic imitation of warmth, palms outstretched like pilgrims at a shrine. Your hands are cracked open at the knuckles, fingertips blacken. You hold them close anyway, wincing as the heat bites frozen flesh. The sergeant enters. He stands watching the flame for a long moment before speaking. Reinforcements aren't coming. No reaction. Everyone already knew. There's talk of surrender. Still no response. No outrage. Just the flame's quiet crackle. He sighs, sits, lights a cigarette with shaking fingers. Offers it around. Nobody takes it. Too precious. You don't have to hold the line anymore, he mutters. There is no line. Then he leaves. Historians will debate when the Sixth Army truly broke. Not the official surrender, but the moment the will snapped. This was it. Not a speech. Not a battle. Just a man sitting by a dying fire, admitting nothing more could be done. Patrol that afternoon anyway. Orders or not, someone must watch the east. You walk with your rifle slung low, scarf wrapped twice around your ruined face, boots barely holding together. Each breath feels heavier, like your lungs are filling with lead. The streets are graveyards. Not a living soul, just snow mounds over frozen limbs poking from rubble. You step carefully, knowing mines could be anywhere, especially under corpses. A courtyard you haven't seen in days. A playground, recognizable only by the rusted swing set half buried in snow. The chains creak in the wind. Something hangs from one, an empty satchel. You don't wonder whose. A sound behind you. You spin. Nothing. Just ice shifting. You lower your rifle. Hands shaking. The apartment block at the square's edge had a red flag last time. Now just a tattered scrap fluttering like a surrender never sent. Inside, it's quieter. Warmer, strangely. No wind reaches here. You step through broken glass, flashlight catching oddities, furniture corpses, a single shoe, a stove full of cold ash. On the second floor, a blanket laid out. Someone lived here recently. Maybe still does. You pause, rifle ready. On the wall, charcoal words in Russian. Unreadable. But beside them, a crude smiling face. You move on. Returning, you find a squad mate gone. Left a note in a boot. Went to find food. If not back by night, don't wait. You won't. That night, huddled in your corner chewing a moldy biscuit found in a drawer, you try not to think about dinner, or hunger, or that constant gnawing in your gut. Someone prays quietly. Another recounts a training camp story about a drill sergeant slipping on ice. You smile, not at the humor, just because it feels like a relic from another universe. A man coughs wetly nearby. You don't make eye contact. More surrender talk. Walking towards Soviet lines. But what then? Execution? Prison camp? Left to freeze? No one knows. You close your eyes. Dream of home. Of warmth. Of your name spoken by someone unafraid. Morning brings deeper cold. You've lost feeling in your left foot. You say nothing. Just reach for your boot. Begin another day. Now you limp. Subtly still, but it's there. A hitch in your step. Dull pain radiating upward. You haven't removed that boot in 3 days. Afraid to. If the toes are black, there's nothing to be done anyway. Better not to know. Better to keep walking. Scavenging duty today. Sweep Sector D for anything useful. Food, bandages, dry clothes, bullets. Ammo's become currency. Men trade cigarettes for 3 Mauser rounds like gold coins. You move with 2 others through the corpse of the city, past crater scars and signage burned meaningless. Somewhere under this ruin was a place with a name. Now it's just the pocket. An administration building, maybe. Desks fossilized under ash layers. In one drawer, untouched stationery, letters never written. You take a sheet. Might need to write something someday. A dead radio in another room. Broken, silent, half crushed by a ceiling beam. You remember when a working one appeared at barracks weeks ago. The whole squad crowded around, desperate for music, news, even propaganda. Anything but wind and death. It lasted one night before a shell turned it to shrapnel. For Russian canned goods. No labels, but they rattle. Could be meat, beans, something worse. You take them anyway. A comrade finds a frost-covered coat. His grin says everything. Historians argue whether German soldiers looted systematically or clung to discipline. You don't care what books say. You take what you can. Edible, wearable, burnable. You take it. Morality left with summer. Your foot catches on something. You stumble, catch yourself on a doorway. Pain shoots through your leg, vision swimming. When it clears, you see what tripped you, a hand. Not attached, just frozen fingers curled in the snow. You step around it like furniture. Outside, wind whips stinging snow pellets. You limp back to shelter, your pack heavier with supplies and dread. The sergeant is gone when you return. No note, no trail, just his helmet upside down by a half-burnt candle. The flame flickers weakly. You sit, exhausted. Your foot throbs. You peel back the boot slowly. The sock is wet, not with snow, blood. Peeling it off reveals purple toes. Too blackening. You press one. Feel nothing, not even pressure. You rewrap it tightly with the cleanest rag left, which isn't saying much. You tell no one. The Russian cans contain stringy, sour meat. You force it down. It stays. That's all that matters. Others share theirs too, huddled around the candle. One man stares at the flame like it's the only thing tethering him to earth. Rumors surface about Red Cross negotiations. Maybe prisoners won't be executed. Maybe sent west. Or east. Anywhere but here. No one dares ask, what if that's a lie? Instead, they talk about food. Butter. Fried eggs. Hot soup. They describe it like incantations. Someone mentions beer. A collective groan. Not from longing, but memory. That kind of joy hurts now. You lie back, closing your eyes. Imagining yourself years hence. At a table, describing this. The snow. The silence. The taste of mystery meat in a shattered room. Then you remember most here won't live to tell anything. And you wonder if you will. Night watch again. Perched where a window once was. You stare at the stars, faint but present. You trace one with a finger, whispering a name you haven't spoken in weeks. Someone who might already think you're dead. A scrape behind you. You whirl, rifle up. Nothing. Just the building settling. Or the city sign. You lower your weapon. Begin counting hours until dawn. You wake to shouting. Not panic, just urgent, laced with disbelief. Groggy. You sit up, blinking frost from your lashes as the words cut through the frozen air. They're here. The Soviets. Inside the lines. Not outside. Not across no man's land. Inside. Crawling to the doorway, you peer out. Men cluster near the stairwell whispering, pointing. Some reload weapons with numb fingers. Others just sit stunned. Strangely, your heart doesn't race. This should terrify you. It just feels inevitable. The building across the street burns. The heat doesn't reach you, but the orange glow paints the snow in ghostly shadows. Distant Russian shouts. Footsteps crunching snow. Then gunfire. Too close to ignore. You grab your rifle. Your hand slips. The bolt's frozen again. A hard slap with your palm breaks it free with a dry crack. 4 rounds left. One chambered. Boots pound up the stairs. A German voice yells halt. 2 pistol shots. Silence. Then a scream. Then nothing. You retreat, setting up by a window, aiming low. They'll come crouching. You've done it yourself enough times. Glass shatters below. Soviets are inside. Somewhere. A comrade opens fire. Short controlled bursts. Good shooter. Through your scope, shadows move and smoke. Hard to tell friend from foe. You aim at a figure. Pause. Lower your rifle. A child. Just standing there in an oversized coat, staring through the haze. You blink. Look again. Gone. Rubbing your eyes, you try focusing. Can't lose it now. The stairwell erupts. Rifles used as clubs. Metal on bone. Then something rolls into the room. Small. Round. Grenade. You dive behind a table just before the explosion. Deafening. Dust. Wood. Blood. The world turns upside down. Heat. Then cold. Then pain. The table saved you. Mostly. Your side bleeds. Pressing your hand to it, you grit your teeth. One squad mate dead. Another gone. Smoke pours from the stairwell. The building groans like it's collapsing. Staggering up, you clutch your rifle. Limping toward the back, dragging yourself through rubble, clinging to walls. Every step sends fire through your leg and lightning through your ribs. Outside, the snow is red. You hobble into an alley. Empty. For now. Leaning against a wall, you look up. The sky's changing, no longer flat gray. Pink and blue streak through. You stare like it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Then you cough. Hard. Doubled over. Hacking until something wet hits your glove. Red. Of course. You keep moving. No destination. Just away. A truck half buried in snow. Engine blocked, cracked open like a skull. Inside, a body still gripping the wheel. You nod at him. Comrades. Another alley. Another courtyard. A bakery sign still readable. Brought UND Hofna. Bread and hope. You laugh. No bread here. But maybe, if you sit, a little hope. Inside, it's quiet. The smell of ash and old flour lingers. You collapse in a corner, back against the cold oven, rifle across your lap. Your wound still bleeds, but slower now. Tearing a shirt strip, you bind it. Not medicine, just something. Historians will argue whether surrender was forced or chosen, whether generals clung to orders or faced reality. You know the truth. It's not one moment. Surrender seeps in like the cold. You think of the others, where they are now. Who made it? Who didn't? Ulrich and his peach tree. The harmonica man who sang until he couldn't. Reaching into your coat, you pull out the stationery, the pencil stub, and you write. Slowly, your fingers barely work. But the words come. A name. A date. Then, I was here. I fought. I survived. Until I couldn't. Folding it, you place it on the counter. Not expecting anyone to find it. Just proof you were real. That this happened. That you mattered. Even in this city that devours men like firewood. Footsteps approach. Close. Friend or foe. You reach for your rifle. It's already in your lap. You smile. And wait. You don't shoot. Not for mercy or heroism. Just emptiness. The rifle weighs a ton. Your arms feel rubbery. The footsteps fade. Maybe they saw you. Maybe they didn't care. You rest what feels like an hour. Then move. Barely. Pushing up from the bakery floor, you leave a bloodstain on the wall. The bandage soaks through. You tighten it anyway. Your scarf goes over your nose. Not for warmth. Your face has been numb for days, but to stop your breath from freezing on your lips. Limping back outside, every building is broken, some leaning like drunks, others collapsed like rotten fruit. Snow falls softly, silently. You don't mind anymore. You don't feel much of anything anymore. An overturned wagon, wheels stripped. The horses? Probably eaten. Shared between starving men in basements who told themselves it was better than dying. A corner where someone hung a sheet painted Café Berlin, now stained with soot and blood. You stare a moment. Move on. You're not sure where you're going. No point really. But your brain keeps signaling, move. 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 So you do. Eventually you find it. A building with 3 walls standing. No roof, but a collapsed beam forms shelter. Inside, a pot with frozen soup residue. You chip off a chunk, let it melt in your mouth. Flavorless, but food. You sit, and wait, and breathe, and think. Mostly of home. Not in detail anymore. Those memories have faded, but flashes. Your mother's voice. Your dog barking at the postman. A bike chain skipping on pavement. You cling to these like talismans. Another explosion rumbles the skyline. You don't flinch. The wars become background noise now, like traffic used to be. Someone joins you. Didn't hear him approach. German uniform. Thin. Pale. Eyes sunken like yours. He says nothing. You say nothing. You pass him the last soup scrap. He takes it. You share a silence deeper than words. Later, he offers a cigarette. You hesitate, then take it. Dry, crackles when lit. But it burns. And for 2 minutes, you feel almost human. He speaks first. Saw a man walk into the river this morning. Didn't even take off his coat. You nod. You've seen worse. You don't ask his name. Names are dangerous here. Instead, where were you before this? He shrugs. Tunisia, then France, then here. You nod. I used to fix bicycles. He smiles. I used to paint houses. You both laugh softly, then fall quiet again. Historians will wonder what went through the last defenders' minds. Some will say brainwashing, others bravery. You know, just tiredness. Too tired to think. Too tired to run. Too tired to die dramatically. Later, the man leaves. No words, just a glance. You stay, because standing hurts more. Looking at your hands, fingertips black now. Not all, but more than yesterday. You flex them. Only 2 respond well. You wonder what holding a pen feels like. Or a warm mug. Probably nice. Curling up behind the beam, coat tight around you, you let your eyelids droop. You don't plan to sleep. You just do. In the dream, you're back in school. A hallway of coats. A teacher calling names. You try to speak, but snow comes out instead. You wake coughing. The blood's thicker this time. Wiping it away, you sit up. Darker now. A candle flickers nearby. You didn't light it. The other man must have. You lean toward it, frozen hands outstretched, hoping to feel something. You don't. But the light's enough. You write another note. Shorter. We tried. We were forgotten. But we were here. Folding it, you tuck it under a brick. If found, maybe they'll know you were a person, not just a uniform in frozen ruins. Lying back, you stare at the sky through the collapsed ceiling. Stars. More than before. Cold. Distant. Perfect. You whisper to them. Just once. A name. A place. A goodbye. You wake to boots crunching snow. Real this time, not imagined. It's still dark, though the horizon has lightened slightly, turning the snow from black to ash gray. You don't sit up immediately. You listen. The steps are measured. Not rushed. Not clumsy. Military steps. German probably. But you wait to be sure. That's survival now. Waiting, watching, breathing shallow through your scarf. Then a voice calls. Anyone alive in there? You sit up slowly, back protesting, ribs aching. Your rifle remains within reach, but you don't grab it. The voice wasn't hostile, just tired, like yours. Two soldiers appear where the bakery door once hung. Thin, hollow-eyed, soot-covered like you. One limps. The other has a blood-crusted bandage around his neck. They scan the room, nod at you, step inside. We're pulling back, the first says. Orders from someone. Or no one. You stare blankly. Pulling back where? There is no back anymore. Head toward the river. The other explains, brushing snow from his helmet. Rumor says Soviets are letting some cross. Not many, but a few. Might be our last chance. You nod. Words have become unnecessary currency. They offer to take you with them. You look at your foot, the one you haven't moved in hours. The numbness has graduated to something permanent. The kind of cold that no fire can thaw. You shake your head. They don't argue. Instead, they press something into your hand. A square of chocolate. Actual chocolate. You don't believe it at first. Just stare at this impossible artifact in your palm. Dusty, slightly melted, probably half rancid. But chocolate. They leave you sitting there with it. You don't eat it immediately. Just hold it. Feel its edges. Smell it. Let the memories flood in. Your father used to bring chocolate home in his coat pocket after market days. Always wrapped in paper. Always broken into shareable squares. You'd let yours melt on your tongue slowly. A small, sacred ritual. Now here it is again, in a bombed-out bakery in Stalingrad. A miracle wrapped in foil. You take a bite. It tastes like childhood. Like safety. Like a different universe. You chew slowly. Let it dissolve. You don't cry. You're past that. But your throat tightens. Your breath hitches. You close your eyes. Let the chocolate do its work. When you open them, you're not alone. 3 more soldiers have entered the shelter. None speak. One collapses in a corner and doesn't rise. Another pulls his coat tight, leans against the wall, starts humming. The third kneels before the oven, striking a match. You watch it flicker, sputter, catch. A tiny flame dances on wood shavings and cloth. You all lean in. You don't know their names. You don't need to. In that fragile firelight, you are the same. Frozen, broken, alive. For now, they pass a tin around, beans, or what's left of them. You take a spoonful, pass it on. No one speaks. Words feel heavy, unnecessary. The man in the corner, the one who hadn't moved, finally stirs. Looks at you. Says, they say Paulus is negotiating. You blink. You've heard the rumors, that your general has finally accepted the obvious. That the Sixth Army is finished. That the war, at least here, is over. Historians will call it surrender, the man adds. But it's really just mercy. You nod. You don't care what they'll name it. You just want it to end. By midday, the fire dies. But you're warmer than you've been in days. Your foot still doesn't move. You don't test it. You ask for a pencil. Someone provides one. Taking the last paper scrap from your coat, you begin writing. Not a letter this time. A list. You title it, Things I want to remember. You write. The smell of rain on pavement. Bicycle chains on cobblestones. Butter melting on fresh bread. Your sister's laugh. How your dog tilted his head when confused. Warm hands. Your mother's kitchen radiator humming. A woman on a train who smiled once. Walking through spring woods. Chocolate dissolving slowly on your tongue. You fold the list. Slide it into your breast pocket. Press it flat over your heart. You don't know if anyone will find it. But if they do, maybe they'll understand. That you weren't just a soldier. You were a person. Someone who lived. Someone who remembered. Outside, the wind howls anew. The Soviets aren't far now. You can hear their trucks, their voices, their dogs barking. You lean back, close your eyes, and whisper, just one more night. The dogs come first, sharp barks cutting through the wind, closer than yesterday, closer than ever. You sit up straight. Everyone does. The fire has burned to memories, the coals whispering useless heat. You clutch your coat tighter. It doesn't help. The barking stops. Then voices. Russian. Close. The others reach for weapons out of habit, not hope. There's no fight left here. You're down to one bullet. Another man carries only a wooden board with nails, like some medieval peasant. You're not sure what he plans to do with it. Peering through a wall crack, you see them, Soviet soldiers, maybe 20, trudging through the street in loose formation. Not charging, not yelling, just walking. Confident, calm, like the city already belongs to them. Maybe it does. One pauses, looks up at your building. You freeze. His rifle remains slung. He says something in Russian, moves on. That's it. No shots, no demands, just collection. You understand then, it's over. Not with fanfare or trumpets. With a footstep in snow. You sit back down. Let it settle. Someone says aloud, it's over. No one disagrees. Historians will debate the exact moment of surrender, when Paulus was captured, when the last airfield fell, when Germans stopped firing. You'd say it was now, here, in this bakery with 4 men and a dead stove. The city doesn't change instantly. Shelling stops, but silence brings uncertainty, not peace. You don't rush out waving white flags. You wait. Everyone does. There's talk of prisoner assembly points, of trucks, of Siberia. Someone jokes, hope you like cold. No one laughs. You eat your last bread crust. It tastes like paper. You chew anyway. Later, footsteps return. This time they stop outside. A voice calls in rough German. Come out with hands visible. You will not be harmed. You don't believe that. But you go. What else is there? Stepping into daylight, you blink. The snow's reflection stings. You raise your hands. So do the others. One by one, you shuffle out. No fanfare. No resistance. Just surrender. A Soviet soldier approaches, as tired-looking as you. Maybe younger. Maybe not. His coat's too big. Boots patched. He studies you, then nods, gesturing for you to move. You do. They herd you into a group, 30 maybe. All in similar condition. Thin, frostbitten, hollow-eyed. No one speaks. You just stand in the cold and wait. A truck rumbles nearby. Orders are barked in Russian. The meaning doesn't matter anymore. You've entered a new existence. Not soldier, not quite prisoner. Something in between. Something waiting for mercy. They march you toward an assembly point. Past the ruins you fought to hold. Past streets where comrades bled out. Past a wall bearing the shadow of a man vaporized by an explosion. The walk takes hours. Or maybe it just feels that way. Your foot throbs with every step. You welcome the pain. It means you're still here. At the square, hundreds of Germans wait. Some standing in line, some collapsed in snow, some wrapped in blankets, rocking like children. An officer speaks through a megaphone. You can't hear the words. Doesn't matter. You're herded into a new group. Your name is written down. Or maybe not. You don't ask. They tie a numbered cloth strip to your sleeve. You're not a soldier anymore. You're a number. A statistic. A record. And yet, you're grateful. Because for the first time in months, no one is shooting at you. They march you again. This time toward the Volga. The same river you once fought to reach, now leading you away in chains. Trucks wait on the far bank. Guards. Smoke. You wonder what comes next. Someone behind you whispers, only 5,000 made it back. You turn. From what? From Russia. After the last surrender. You nod. Say nothing. Keep walking. Snow crunches under your boots. A bird flies overhead. You remember writing your name on the wall. The taste of chocolate. The doll in the ruins. The harmonica. The faces in firelight. You remember the silence before shelling. The laughter that didn't last. The dreams that did. And somehow, that feels like enough. For now, the river is wider than you remembered. You stand in line on the western bank with 1,000 silent men. The rising sun at your back paints the icy water orange. You don't feel its warmth. Your breath freezes mid-air, eyelashes sticking together when you blink. On the opposite shore, Soviet soldiers move like shadows, loading trucks with prisoners. They speak little, just gestures and short commands. Some wear fur-trimmed coats. Most share that same exhausted look, as if even victory can't warm them. You shift your weight from your bad foot. Standing is better than sitting. Sitting means not getting up. Not getting up means being left behind. And that means dying where you fall. The man ahead stumbles, knees buckling. A guard barks in Russian. The man doesn't move. You recognize him, a Panzer crewman. Shared a blanket once in a ruined church. The guard yells again, stepping forward. You reach out instinctively, help the man up. He's light as a skeleton wrapped in wool, breathing shallow. But he nods, murmurs thanks. You both step forward. Just one. Historians will puzzle why the Soviets didn't execute all prisoners at Stalingrad. Some will say Stalin wanted propaganda. Others claim logistics. Wounded weren't worth bullets. But you, standing here, think the answer is simpler. This is punishment enough. They want you to see what you've lost. They want you to carry it. Eventually, it's your turn. You approach the river's edge, boots crunching ice and frozen mud. A soldier points to a narrow gangplank leading to a battered barge. You take the first step. It creaks. You cross slowly, carefully. The man behind steadies you when you wobble. You don't turn around. Just keep moving. On board, no seats, just a steel deck slick with frost and old blood. You stand shoulder to shoulder with dozens of others, packed like firewood. The engines groan. The barge lurches forward. The wind on the water is brutal, knifing through your coat, stealing your breath. You shiver violently. Someone collapses. No one helps him up. You glance back as the western bank fades into fog. Stalingrad. What's left of it? The city you fought for. The city that broke you. From here, it looks almost peaceful. Smoking chimneys, snow-filled craters, leaning walls. Like a painting. You blink. Look away. The crossing takes an hour, maybe more. At the dock, you're processed, searched, cataloged. Another numbered cloth tied to your sleeve. They march you to a holding area, a fenced square beside a bombed building. No roof, no walls, just snow and wire. You huddle together for warmth. Someone has a blanket. 4 men share it. No one talks. Words cost energy. You sit on your pack, arms around your knees. Your foot is numb again. You consider unwrapping it, but fear wins. If you look, it might be worse. It probably is. The sun rises higher. Guards bring bread and soup, a ladle of gray liquid with something floating in it. You drink without tasting. Your stomach growls anyway. A German officer appears, younger than expected, still polished somehow. He speaks about transfer camps, medical separation, movement soon. No one believes him. He asks for skilled tradesmen, blacksmiths, carpenters, mechanics. A few hands rise. Not many. He nods, says something in Russian to a guard, leaves. That's the last time you see him. You lie down that night on snow packed hard as concrete. Your back against a crumbling wall, your pack under your head. Someone snores softly. Another mumbles to his wife, or mother, or a ghost. You look up. The stars are clear again. You find the one you always look for, the same one you saw the night after surrender. Still there, still shining. Somehow that matters. You think about writing again, reaching for that pencil, that last paper scrap, but your hands are too stiff. So instead, you whisper, a name, a story, a hope. Then, silence. Morning brings group separation. You're marched east with 100 others down an ice-crusted road. No one says where, a train maybe, or a camp. The guards just walk, rifles on shoulders, breath smoking in thin lines. As you walk, someone starts singing quietly, a lullaby. You don't know the words, but the melody feels familiar. Others join in, not to perform, not to resist, just to remember, just to feel human again. And as the sun rises behind your frozen backs and Stalingrad disappears forever into the haze, you keep walking, one step at a time, one breath after another. Because even in surrender, even in silence, you're still here, still moving, still alive. The train isn't really a train, just boxcars without insulation, seats, or heat. Some lack doors. Others have bullet holes that let in wind, but not light. When guards herd you toward it, you feel relief. No more walking. They pack 40 of you into one car, standing at first, then collapsing into piles of limbs and silence. Frozen straw covers the floor. The corners reek of vomit and waste. Still, it's shelter. The doors slam shut. For a moment, quiet. Then the train lurches. It begins moving east. You don't ask where. You already know. The ride lasts days. Maybe longer. No windows. No clocks. Just wheels grinding on frozen rails, coughs of the sick, the occasional canteen rattle. The darkness is absolute. You pass time by counting someone else's breaths, just to be sure they're still alive. Your foot is nearly gone now. The numbness turned to rot. You can smell it. You try hiding it from others. Wrap it tighter. Beg it to hold on. Just a little longer. They feed you once daily. A ladle of thin soup into whatever container you have. If you miss your turn, no second chance. Some trade. Some steal. One man stabs another over bread crust. The guards throw both into the snow next morning. No one speaks of it. Historians will try quantifying how many died in these transports. Frozen, starved, or simply given up between Stalingrad and Siberia. The records are unclear. No one counted properly. No one wanted to know. One night, someone starts singing a hymn. His voice cracks, but he continues. Others join. You don't know the words, but you hum. For 5 minutes, it feels like the war is outside, not inside. Like you still have something left. Eventually, the train stops. The doors creak open. Snowlight floods in, blinding after days of darkness. This is the camp. You don't recognize the Cyrillic sign. It doesn't matter. It's not the name that matters. It's the fences, the towers, the rows of barracks sagging under snow. They file you out one by one. You try standing. Your leg buckles. Someone catches you. The chocolate man from the bakery. He says nothing, just nods. You limp into the snow together. You're sorted, sick, injured, labor ready. You land in the second group. They ask if you can work. You say yes. Everyone says yes. Those who can't don't last. They lead you to a long, low building, scrap wood and frost. Inside, wooden cots with thin blankets. Some already occupied. Pale faces, sunken eyes. The smell of gangrene hangs thick. You lie down. For the first time in weeks. You don't have to move. You don't sleep. Not really. Just float. The coming days shrink your world. Wake up. Get soup. Stand in line. Hope the foot doesn't worsen. Hope fever doesn't come. Hope. The cold remains constant. You layer everything you have. Huddle at night with strangers who feel like family now. No names needed. Just warmth. One morning, a Soviet medic comes, a woman. Thin, red-cheeked, heavy boots. Not smiling, but not cruel. She examines your foot. Says nothing. Then gestures an assistant over. They bring warm water. She cleans it. Hurts more than the wound. You grit your teeth. Thank her. The man beside you dies that night. They take him out before roll call. No ceremony. Just the scrape of his body across floorboards. The door closing softly. You think of adding his name to your list. But you never knew it. Instead, you add the sound of boots in snow. Because you're forgetting things. And some things need remembering. Days blur. The fever doesn't come. Your foot worsens slowly. They give you better rags. One man donates socks. You don't ask why. Just nod. The chocolate man remains. He shares bread with a mute boy. You see him later carving shapes into walls. Flowers, trees, a window without bars. Then one day, a guard reads names. Yours is called. You step forward. They say you're being moved. Repatriation, they call it. Prisoner exchange maybe. Politics probably. You don't ask why. Just nod. You're led from the barracks, through the gate, into a truck. The chocolate man is there too. You don't speak, but your eyes say everything. The engine starts. The camp fades behind you. Snow whips the windshield. And you think, I made it. The road ahead is long, cold, unknown, but it's forward. And that's enough.